Welcome everyone to another video. Today I just wanted to sort of go over my modular system without patching it, just sort of like talking about my modular and giving you a sort of walk down or walkthrough of the modules I have. Which I don't think I've done before, and I get questions about my modular sometimes. So my modular has a very unique workflow, and I think it's in a place that I really like right now. So sort of going to be giving you the rundown of that, and just go through my modules and how I patch. And I'll be doing another sort of video like this, patching my modular and sort of showing my workflow, but this is more just going to be talking about the modules I have, why I chose them, or on how I use them. And this is my live case. I only have one modular case really, and it's this. So yeah, I guess the biggest thing to start with here is this bottom section here, which is like the I2C ecosystem, right? So what I2C is a protocol for sending information like MIDI, but separate from MIDI. It doesn't send MIDI information, it sends I2C. So the teletype module has been really essential to my rack. It's been the sort of brain of my system for a while now. It lets me do a bunch of controlled random things. I usually patch it, I code it with a keyboard, and it has various different operators that can be used for different things. So I use it a lot for random timing. I use it for converting voltages or variables or numbers to pulse information using the binary operators. So here is an example of one script that I'm using that just gives me random pulses out of the pulse outputs and random voltages out of the voltage outputs, and these voltages can be slewed or just straight stepped random. And you can control timing in a very minuscule way, or you can you have a lot of control over timing and voltage elements. You can also recall patches on them, and then the big thing is that it talks to these two modules over I2C, so I can send note information to the disting EX over here, which I mainly use in poly wavetable mode. Poly wavetable is just a polyphonic wavetable synthesis algorithm, and there are a bunch of different waveforms on here, banks, and there's filters and your ADSR and delay and chords. You can quantize things, arpeggiate things. There's chorus and delay, and you can control all of these parameters either by mapping these jacks to the different parameters, which are pre-mapped already, but you can also rearrange that mapping, or you can send I2C information from teletype to control those parameters. So a lot of what I do is just a lot of scripting of random parameter 10 random between 0 and 127, which will allow me to sort of control anything I want to, almost endless amount of parameters on the disting from the teletype, which is really awesome because I can change the delay time and the chorus amount and the envelope amount and all that dynamically over time, and I get so much more out of this module by controlling it with teletype, because there's only 6 jacks here, but if I wanted to control like 20 parameters at once, I could do that with Teletype pretty easily. Teletype also has limitations. There's only 6 lines of code per page, and there's 8 pages. And then there's an initial page and like a metronome page that's used for like more tempo-based stuff. But that in itself, just these 2 modules, lets me do a whole lot. And then ER301 sound computer here receives pulse and voltage information from Teletype also. And this thing is also a super computer thing that just has a bunch of different things. So I usually use it as a mixer to mix different signals. There's a bunch of inputs here, gate inputs, and then there's 4 outputs. So you can have like 2 stereo pairs or 4 mono pairs, and there's oscillators on here. There's granulators, there's delays, there's buffers that you can sample in, you can play samples, you can trigger drums, there's like compressors, there's distortion, there's like bit crushing type of stuff. If I go to just insert here, you can see a whole list of things that you can, these are just all modules basically. It's like a sort of meta modular thing. Sample player, dub looper, reverb, yeah, and you can patch this in a way that you can patch all your modular stuff. It's very linear, so it's like there's a sequence, so you can make mixers of things, but you can also pull voltage from different places inside of itself with like the local voltage stuff. Which I might do another video on the ER301 and how I use that specifically, because it goes really in depth. Same with the disting over here, and same with Teletype. So this whole bottom section might be its own sort of video, its own ecosystem of things, because it really is a connected thing. And I had this just in one case before, the disting Teletype and ER1 sound computer. And I was able to do like full modular sets with just that setup. And I should start also just focusing on that more, because it's so powerful. And sometimes I feel like the other things can kind of be distracting when you're trying to learn modules that have so much depth. And that was just one algorithm on the disting that I was talking about. There's also a beautiful granulator algorithm, and they're updating this all the time. And I think it's also open source now. This is also open source. And I made this panel with the open source files, but you can also develop modules via the open source software. So yeah, and then yeah, there's a awesome granulator on here. There is a polyphonic exciter algorithm. There's a polyphonic multi-sample algorithm that lets you do like multi-sample piano or dulcimer. It comes with a whole library of different multi-sample things. You can also upload your own multi-sample files. You can sample your MIDI synthesizers into multi-sample files by sending MIDI out, and then it receives the audio and records like each note basically. And you can create awesome multi-sample libraries for yourself to use on the disting. Which also makes it, this case, like really portable power, because I can have like a bunch of my MIDI synths at home and multi-sample them onto the disting, and then use those patches that I've made on the other synths on the disting with all my other stuff. This setup is sort of inspired by the Buchla 200E series. I wanted something that I could recall patches with, recall like very complex patches live with, and then go. I actually rarely go back to other patches that I have made, but it's nice to look back at my code if I want to figure out how I did something. Yeah, and also just see shows that I've done and played and how I played them, etc. You can save presets on all 3 of these modules. You can recall the distinct presets from the Teletype, and this just saves presets automatically. So I have all my shows here as well. Yeah, just save this again. And then, yeah, that's it for this, because that'll be a separate video mainly. And this small section at the end here, is also part of the ecosystem. This is just a MIDI expander for the disting, so it can take MIDI in and it can send MIDI, and I can send MIDI from teletype through the disting, out of the disting. But then I also have the I2C2 MIDI by a guy named Adelwatt on Instagram. He designed this basically to be used with teletype, where you can send, if you don't have a distant, you can still send MIDI out of teletype with the I2C2 MIDI conversion thing. And he has a whole library of operators that send MIDI and MIDI CC and like sysx and program change. All the MIDI stuff can be sent from teletype out of the I2C2 MIDI. There is also, yeah, so this is MIDI in and out, and then this jack down here is just connected to a 5-pin MIDI on the back of my synth, so I don't have to worry about all the 5-pin MIDI DIN conversion or whatever thing. So I just have that connected here, so if I can send MIDI out through that jack on the back and get like solid MIDI cable coming out of the back of my modular. And then the last thing here is Crow, which also has its own coding thing that I don't really use. I use Crow mainly as an expander for teletype. Lets me send more pulses and trigger outputs. But what's unique to Crow is that you can also send envelopes. So Crow has specific operators on teletype where you can send attack decay envelopes with a certain voltage. You can also do LFOs, and I think it may be able to go into audio rate, but I'm not sure, and it'd be finicky. Crow also has some Max libraries where you can use various Max devices to control Crow, or have Crow send to Max or to Max for Live. So it has Max and Max for Live libraries for use with Modular. So it's a way that you can interface my computer with Modular. This whole section is really for like being able to do anything that I wanted to in Modular, basically. Like all of my envelopes and BCAs and LFOs, all the basic like Modular synthesis things I can do in this system and have like really complex sequencing. Okay, so this module is also a super important module to my system, the Mutable Instrument Stages. This is running a firmware that someone developed for it called bipolar firmware, I think, or it has a few names, but I'll find the exact one and link it in the description. This other firmware allows for like 6 channels of stepped or slewed random that when triggered can be Turing machines. So you can have like 6 Turing machines basically, and then this top knob basically changes the length of the sequence. Super useful to have 6 channels of analog random. I know there's the oct that people like a lot, which is the LFOs, but this has been super useful in terms of just having a bunch of random voltages. This also has LFOs, and then the new firmware allows you to go into audio rate, so I can have like 6 oscillators that can be either triangle, anywhere between, this interpolates anywhere between saw to triangle to square wave, and sine wave in there too. And the range on them is pretty good. They do sound a little digital, it's a digital module obviously, but having 6 oscillators is awesome. There's also a harmonic oscillator mode on this. This is also another like super crazy utility thing. So like this whole bottom section is like super well, the whole modular really is designed to be a multifunctional thing that I can sort of develop my practice with, instead of buying new modules all the time and trying to figure out new, like I'm not really, well, I'm playing around, but I'm not really wanting to play around with different modules. I more so want to play around with like different techniques. So this system has been really designed to have like practice doing techniques of stuff. Yeah, there's offsets. There's you can have it be a step sequencer. You can have it be an envelope generator that's linear or exponential envelopes. It can be this is like their envelope generator, so it can be like attack, hold, decay, sustain, release. It can be like AD, DS, R, or whatever. There's so many configurations of envelopes that it can be, and they can be chained together too. So you can have like two of them and have like a crazy long envelope, or a sequence that's 6. It'd be like 12-step sequence. Stages is really fun to use in conjunction with the disting over here and changing like filters and delay times, and also with the ER301 over here. And I primarily use it to change the granulator settings, like the length of the grains, or like the timing, like we're forward or backwards, or like how slow it is. I forgot what the exact parameter is called. I can go looking for it here, actually, in this patch. It's in one of these. I use grain stretch a lot, yeah, the speed, basically, and the duration. So let's go through this top section here. This module that's sticking out here is not a module, it's just a blank panel with a piezo on the back of it, and the piezo is connected directly to the Volktech altar over here, which is a multi-effects unit. Basically, it has delay. What I really like about the delay is that it doesn't have slew. It's like a it's like a resampling delay. So like if you change the delay time, it resamples it and kind of stretches it in a unique way. And there's two versions of this that have two different firmwares. It's the Alter 1, and also just a beautiful panel. Has a like a carpless strong type delay with like really short delay times, like string-like delays. You can watch the video on this, but it also has some like glitch effects, delay reverb, distortion filter, pitch shifting delay, and some other things. Yeah, but that's a really fun multi-effects unit that I sometimes use at the end of the chain, or I put somewhere in between. The reverb's really nice. This is a sort of just utility noise and filter. It's a fixed filter bank. I use it for sort of isolating drums. So like if I want to make like a hi-hat has a noise source, it's normal, so I can have like a hi-hat and like a snare out of a different one, or a lower hi-hat. This is a weird module by my friend Flesh Simulator on Instagram. I think it is also on YouTube. He's been making a lot of YouTube videos recently. He designed this passive module that uses some chip, and I can also put that on the screen or something if I find it. It just takes voltage and spits out like screaming sounds, like screaming feedbacky oscillator sounds. Yeah, this is the X1L3 monolith module, monolith 2, which receives Bluetooth, so I can send Bluetooth audio from my phone. The second one in stereo now. I actually suggested to him that he make a stereo version, because I wanted some like higher quality audio. I can also send Bluetooth from my laptop, doing stuff with like Orca and Pilot into my system, and I wanted a way to interface my phone with my system, because I do a lot of sampling in my live sets. So This has been really awesome for that. Stereo output and mono output, and then also has a envelope generator with your source in, if it's not the Bluetooth, and a gate out and an envelope out. Yeah. Then this module over here is also super awesome, and I bought and sold it like 3 times. I'm keeping it this time. The Bizarre Jezebel Chloe, which is it's a delay, it's a filter, and it is a distortion, a tube distortion. Multi-mode filter, you have high pass, band pass, low pass. And delay has feedback and time and control over the time, CV over the cutoff, and has a low pass gate in it also, that can be switched on and off. And then there's distortion amount too, tube distortions, tube in the back of it actually. Useful effect. Most of these are effects. It's a good utility. The cat paw, which is a 10U-verter with some gain on it, and it has 3 modes. You can have like either it be like 0 to 5 volts, 0 to 10 volts, or negative 5 to positive 5 volts, or it can be like a attenuator with 0 to not gain or 0 to plus 5 gain or something. And this is useful just for taming voltages, like taming like a large voltage that I want it to quantize for notes or something like that. This right next to it is the Plankton Electronics ENVF envelope follower. So this is just like a very simple envelope follower with some normal controls. This is the Camianic phase rotator, which is just a normal phaser. Awesome phaser sounds from this thing. The feedback actually gets crazy on this, and I just can't even like do like anywhere past like halfway is crazy feedback. Yeah, it's just simple phaser, mono input, stereo output, and you can control the. Oh, yeah, no, you had an LFO out. You can use the LFO out to control things. There's also external modulation. This is a slew generator that I mainly use as an LFO. I don't really need this in the system. I don't use it that often. If I already get rid of it, I would get another disting. If I already get rid of any of these modules, I get more distings because they can do so much. This is the Cold Mac, which I do use a lot actually, for various things. One of the main things I do with it is use it as an oscillator by self-patching it actually, and I'll get into that self-patch when I patch this whole system for another video. But you can feedback it, and it makes sort of really exponential bass drummy type drone sounds that I put through an envelope generator to control, and then put into a VCA or VCF to get those sounds out of it. Also use it as a crossfader, as a ring modulator, as a source of like taking one random voltage and splitting it into a bunch of different random outputs. Use it as a mixer sometimes. Yeah, crossfader as I use a wave folder. The like crease circuit and fold circuit over here are really nice wave folders. Yeah, it's really useful. This is just a format jumbler, so I have a bunch of banana synths that I use that are C at Lombard, and this just is passive. It just converts Eurorack to banana. And this is another module by Flash Simulator, ELC Systems, that is just a clicky thing. It sends pulses. Oh no! Oh yeah. Well, if it's connected to power, it sends pulses out of these, and then if you have something in these inputs, it will only send it through when you hold down the buttons. and the switch does nothing because I built it wrong. But it's supposed to give you like either +5 or plus 10 volts. Yeah, and that's really my system, and I'll talk more about this when I'm patching the system. But for now, this is sort of my live setup. In this beautiful case that my roommate Martin Baggerly, I'm gonna link his website if if it's up and running. I'll link it. Furniture major at my school. Well, just graduated a year ago.